Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, it's about 1:39. I've got about 58 minutes before I have to clock back in. Wait, 48, 30, what is it? 38 minutes before I have to clock in, yeah. 39 minutes to be exact. But I wanted to come on here and I wanted to kind of talk about this for a moment because obviously a lot of us are wondering exactly what WWE is going to do, because this is probably, as far as everybody's concerned, over these past several weeks, especially last night and last week's editions of Raw, this is the only thing that's keeping people intrigued about Monday nights right now, and that is who's going to take Baron Corbin's place. You see, we're all assuming Braun Strowman's going to somehow compete against Baron Corbin. They have yet to say that the match is off. There's rumors, strong rumors and everything, that they plan to work around it and try to get the match going. Probably make it a quick squash or something like that with Braun going over. And with the stipulation that if Baron doesn't win, he's no longer general manager or even in consideration anymore. The question everybody's been having is exactly who's going to be the one that comes after. Basically follows. I'm not saying precedes him, because basically the one that takes up the mantle. Like, who's the one that either Stephanie McMahon, her father, or even if they get called back into action, the board of directors or officials of WWE put in charge? Who do they appoint? Who's the next one in line, if you will? And a lot of people have talked about this. I think even WrestleMania did a video talking about the 5 possible rumored names or strong names in consideration. So by watching that about a week or two ago, I kind of thought to myself, those are good choices. Some are long shots, but if we were to look at it from a legit standpoint, there's a couple of ways WWE is going to go with Corbin's replacement. One, for all we know, according to what WrestleMania put out, was whoever takes over for Corbin would just be taking over the acting role. In other words, they'd just be the intern general manager. Like when a head coach of a football team or a basketball team is either fired or put on a leave of absence due to medical or personal reasons, their assistant is always appointed as the intern coach. The assistant, the offensive or defensive coordinator, whoever the officials feel, the officials of the head office feels is the best suited for the job, while the regular coach is out, that one gets appointed as the intern head coach, or interim head coach, I should say, the interim. Yeah, interim head coach. And basically, that's kind of the situation, according to WrestleMania, that Monday Night Raw is going to be facing after TLC, with the likelihood that Baron Corbin is going to go into his last week, which is next week, and next week being the go-home show of Raw for TLC, that he'll be going into it, that will be his last Raw that he'll be going into that, as his last Raw as the acting general manager or the general manager elect, or whatever they call him. And now the question is, who takes over for him? Who takes over his interim position until, I guess, storyline-wise, it's decided that Kurt Angle is either back or not back. See, these are decisions See, this is and sorry for the noise. I know I'm about 6 minutes, 10 seconds in. But this is, like I say, the only thing that's kept people intrigued when it comes to Raw, and that's trying to figure out who creative, storyline-wise, would book in this position. Now, there are several names that came to mind that WrestleMania did bring up, and they are good choices, like I said. The one name that's popping up on everybody's lips and everybody's list as a top choice to be the next acting general manager or interim general manager, which possibly could lead to being a full-time general manager, is Alexa Bliss. The reason for this is because she's currently out, or as of right now, as I'm doing this video, she's currently out on injured reserve. She's trying to get back into ring shape. She's trying to get back, like I said, she's trying to get back into ring shape. She's posted on her Instagram that she's at the Performance Center training, getting back into, getting that ring rust off her, getting back to wanting to do what she loves to do in the ring, and that's perform. The other reason Alexa's been out on injured reserve is not just because of some injuries she's suffered, like sprains and all that, but mostly because of concussions. Long story short, she was out originally with a concussion and some injuries, thought she was over it, and when she came back, she obviously came back too soon, and she ended up suffering another concussion. And then, according to what I just listened to on Pro Wrestling Unlimited, she obviously dealt with a lot more issues on the second concussion than she did the first. Of course, you know, some of those issues being she couldn't remember, you know, what flight she was going on. She would have vertigo. She'd be a hard time standing up. But according to Hall of Famer Mark Henry, it seems to him, because he's talked to Alexa, that she might be ready to go again. She might be, in his eyes, most possibly 100% clear to get back in the ring. Now, everybody has commented that, you know, Mark Henry's just saying that because, you know, that's how he sees it, but that's not how WWE sees it, and they could see it a whole different way. And that might be true. That might be true, but let's say Mark Henry's right, and she's cleared by what some people are projecting the Monday after TLC to get back in the ring. They could play that into the storyline with Stephanie or whoever gets appointed the new general manager, or let's say Kurt's brought back. They could say, look, you're not in charge of the women anymore because you're 100% cleared to get back in that ring and compete. And, you know, here's the report that says it. You know, they can go that route. So until we figure out or find out what they plan to do, Alexa has always been on the top of people's list as being the one that would take over Baron Corbin's position as interim general manager of Raw until either a full-time general manager is put into place, like let's say Kurt Angle's reinstated back to his position, or they get somebody new, or they decide for storyline purposes to put Alexa in that position full-time, so that even if she does get back in the ring, she won't have to compete as much, and that would lessen the risk of her getting injured all over again. So that's a possibility right there. That's a possibility right there. And the way they played Alexa off on this edition of Raw, from what I've read and heard, they played her off as trying to be impartial. Like when Sasha and Bayley won their match and everything, Alexa was applauding them. She was cheering them or applauding the victory and everything. Like, she was supporting the baby faces, and here she is, a heel, or one of the top heels as far as the women are concerned on both brands. So what's going on? And they could play that into the storyline to where, let's say she remains in power, and then even, like I said, becomes the interim general manager of Raw after TLC. You can have not just the women, but the men be like, look, you're not fooling us. We know you're not fooling us. You could try to fool anybody else, but you're not fooling us, because we can see right through your little schemes. You can have it played out like that. But yeah, Alexa Bliss is definitely in consideration as being one of the names, one of the people to become the next interim general manager, or maybe the full-time general manager, depending on what direction they go in storyline-wise with this angle. And I would agree that having her be general manager would be a good idea, interim or full or whatever, because we know that it wouldn't be, she wouldn't be in power for long. It basically, we know, being longtime fans, we know exactly why she would accept being in power and having this control, so that she could try to get back the Raw Women's Championship by having the deck stacked in her favor. That's the only way I look at it, as well as it would play into her whole goddess gimmick, to where she thinks she's better and superior over all the women on Raw, that now she basically legitimately has the proof to back it up, or the claim to back it up, because she's now in charge of not just the women, but all of Raw. So it could play into that as well. Oh, and it could lead to an interesting dynamic come Elimination Chamber, maybe, with the Raw Women's Championship, to where Alexa, let's say she's put in charge, if she doesn't win the Elimination Chamber and become champion, then she's pretty much out of a job. Just like Baron Corbin, she doesn't win, she's out. It's kind of like that saying with college football recently, is you win, you're in. You know what I'm saying? So they could play it like that in the future. They could definitely play it like that if Alexa is put in that position, and I think it could work. As a matter of fact, I think that would make Raw a little bit more interesting in a sense, because instead of basically playing her cards right away, she can manipulate, she can strategize and pinpoint the movements she wants to make, so that when the time is right for her to finally reveal her plans, you'll have people intrigued to see exactly how it's going to come about. Now, another name that I think should be considered, because he's been in this position before, WWE probably knows about this, y'all should know about it, but I think, because we haven't seen him in a while, and it would be a great foil for Stephanie, storyline wise. But I think, honestly, another name that should be considered, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is a name that we don't see coming if it happens, because one, it would get people talking, about Monday Night Raw. It would get people talking. It'd get people to tune in if, let's say, they're watching it on delay because of the different time zones. But I think Sting would be an excellent choice. Here's why. You can have Sting come out and say the WWE officials don't trust Stephanie to pick the general manager because of what she did by having Kurt Angle run Raw and run it into the ground, because she was irrational in her decision making and having Kurt Angle be put on vacation, or basically dismissing him from his duties because he didn't do things her way, or whatever the case may be. having Sting as the general manager with the perk that Stephanie, just like with Kurt, can't fire Sting without a legitimate reason, would be a great foil. Because one, yes, Sting would have to answer to Stephanie, but Sting could be portrayed as the guy that understands, yes, Stephanie, you're my boss, but here's the thing you have to understand. You can't fire me unless you have a legitimate reason, and two, I'm not one that's going to take your BS. You know, I'm going to stand up to you, stand up to what you have to say, and I'm going to argue it. So, yeah, I think Sting would be a great foil for her, because let's say Stephanie decides to book something because she wants to see it happen, because she wants to favor a heel. Sting can come out and say, oh, no. You could book the match that way, but I'm going to add to it. And that could be a great foil for her. So I think Sting definitely needs to be considered, and should be, and probably is being considered as a name to be the new general manager, or if interim general manager of Raw, because one, guess what? It's a name we're not talking about, and it's a name we wouldn't see coming. It would be a surprise, totally out of the blue, that we wouldn't see coming. And gee, we haven't seen Sting in what, forever? It would work. He doesn't have to really do much. I mean, heck, he's proven he could be a great foil as a general manager or authority figure during his time in Impact. I mean, heck, one of the more memorable segments that I remember was basically him shutting down Madison Rayne and saying, no, you ain't running the Knockouts division anymore because you just want to become champion, so guess what? You're going to compete for it. So I could see someone like Sting being a foil to Stephanie. I really could. Being a choice that they would go with. It may be a surprising one because, like I said, no one would see it coming. The other choice. Sorry about that. Somebody wasn't looking when they turned. But anyway, like I said, the other choice that's being tossed around, name-wise, is Renee Young. Now, Renee Young is a commentator right now, the first female commentator for Monday Night Raw. But after this past Monday, according to some sources, where she finally snapped on Corey Graves and basically said, hey, what happens between me and Ambrose behind closed doors is none of you and Michael Cole's business, so how dare you keep asking? It would be perfect. In fact, WrestleMania even pointed out that this would work for Ambrose right now if they want to continue the feud. It would. Somebody try. Well, sorry about that. But like I said, it would work out perfectly for someone like Ambrose. Because, one, if you want to continue pushing him as this heel, and as Alex said on his Twitter, kind of put him maybe in this kind of like fashion or story arc where he becomes like somewhat of a cult leader, and you have these people following him and following his beliefs and his message and his actions. Sorry about that. But like I was saying, Renee would be a good choice because, like I said, if you're finally having her snap on both Graves and Cole last night, and if what Dalyxman thinks could be a possibility with Ambrose's character, that to me is the perfect combination. I mean, you want to basically position you, because here's the thing. You want to position at, according to what WrestleMania pointed out in their video, it sounds like WWE wants to position Ambrose, or basically WWE is looking for the next power couple to be like the McMahon Helmsley era of the early 2000s, of the Attitude Era, of the late 99, early 2000s run. You know, they're trying to find that next power couple that could fit the mold of being similar to what Stephanie and Hunter were when they first started the McMahon-Helmsley era. And I think that would be a tremendous coup, and I think that would be a tremendous idea to go with, especially like I said, if now you're having Renee finally snap on both, like I said, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, but constantly pestering her about what's going on with Ambrose. So you combine those two scenarios together, or those two situations together, you know, what WrestleMania, you know, believes could be a possibility if they go this direction, and what Alex Dalyxman is thinking possibly they're going with Ambrose, it would work. Because one, you would have basically essentially right under Stephanie's nose a power couple that's running Raw in Stephanie's absence, and you could build to something at WrestleMania between Stephanie, believe it or not, between Stephanie and Renee and Dean and Triple H. And that could work because you could build up a storyline that says there's only room for one power couple on Monday Night Raw in WWE, and there you go, it works. The writing then just proceeds to write itself. You let them work promos off each other, both the Triple H and Dean, and maybe with a bit of practice you allow Renee and Stephanie to do the same. There you go. There you go. Instant, the story starts to write itself right then and there. I think that would be a tremendous, and I mean tremendous, direction to go in, especially for WrestleMania, if Triple H is cleared to come back and compete in some capacity. I think it would work, and I think anybody watching this would agree. Because, like I said, it looks like, if you think about it, either you watched Raw last night or you didn't. With reports, according to RingsideNews.com, who reported the live results as they were happening, and people on Twitter saying the same thing, you basically, in a sense, when you think about it, laid the foundation for this possibility to occur. Now, it's all up to what WWE decides to do, because I think they realize, hey, we can't go back now. We can't go back now because of the fact that we finally had Renee snap on both Michael and Corey, and basically it's making it sound like Dean is being booked in a position that's going to make him like a cult leader of a psychotic cult. And what better first follower to have than your own wife? And if your own wife ends up being the new interim, if not full-time general manager, like I said, the writing begins to write itself as far as, let's say, a storyline match come WrestleMania. Now, Renee's not the only name. The other name that was brought around was Hulk Hogan. Now, Hulk could be a good choice. He's been in charge before. He's been in power before. But right now, he's kind of up in the air because according to reports, it sounds like him and WWE are kind of walking a thin line with each other right now. Like, you know, like, yeah, they brought him back they brought him back for a crown jewel because they needed an attraction that the Prince wanted to see. You know, they brought him back because the Prince obviously wanted to see Hogan and all these other legends that are either still with us or not with us. So yeah, he was brought back, but that was the last we saw of him, and we don't know if we'll see him again. So Hogan being considered as a name to be general manager Raw of Monday Night Raw could be good too, Because just like Sting, he could be the kind that wouldn't take Stephanie's BS. It's like he would understand, yes, Stephanie, you're my boss. But you have to understand, you can't fire me unless you have a legitimate reason. And two, I ain't gonna take any of your BS like anybody else did. So again, that could be a good choice depending on the relationship, rocky or not, that WWE has with Hogan right now. So that's kind of up in the air. That's more like a long shot, not saying it wouldn't happen. The other possibility, of course, is reinstating Kurt Angle. Now, you can have Kurt... hold on for a second. Okay, just checking my percentage here. Like I said, you can have Kurt come out, maybe if he gets reinstated, acknowledge, yes, Stephanie, you're my boss, and yes, I need to be better at running things and making sure certain things don't happen, especially to you, because you're the commissioner. You can have him go back to that. You can have him come out and acknowledge, okay, you know, I made a mistake, not being the general manager you need me to be, you know, unbiased, but making sure nothing happens to you. So I promise, I give you my word, I'm going to try better. And then you could just, and then if they do that, fine. You could just act like everything else that happened between, what was it, August, late August and up till now, for the past, what was it, August, September, October, November, past, 4 months, never happened. So you can go with that. So yeah, Kurt Angle being reinstated and then vowing to make sure whatever happens to Stephanie, what happened to Stephanie in the past won't happen again, because he doesn't want to have to see Raw get run down the toilet again, I think could work. I really do. I really think it could work. The other option, besides Kurt, is Paul Heyman, but that kind of runs into the same kind of category that, or a similar category that you had with Renee and Dean. If Renee gets appointed as general manager and stuff, and they decide to follow through on her finally snapping, it could work. It could work, especially if, you know, WWE wants to pursue this idea for a one-night champion versus champion UFC championship match between Daniel Cormier and Brock Lesnar. You could have Paul Heyman basically be the general manager and say, hey, I'm going to make the match no one thought was ever possible, the crossover match no one thought was possible, become a reality, and there you go. There you go. So that's possible. That's a possibility. Paul Heyman is a good choice. He's been general manager before on more than one occasion. So him running Raw wouldn't be bad. Here's a name just like with Sting, I don't think anybody has considered. And that is Roman Reigns. Yeah, think about it. Think about it for a second. We don't know how long Roman's going to be out. And he does have to get his treatments. So bringing Roman back in a capacity as the general manager could work as well, because, again, put him in the same stipulation as Sting and Hogan and maybe even Kurt, and that is, as general manager, Stephanie can't fire him without a legitimate reason, and also, like Sting and Hogan, have him be one that wouldn't take Stephanie's BS. Like, he can acknowledge, yeah, Steph, I know you're my boss, you're the commissioner, but I'm not going to take any of your BS. I'm going to do what's right for Raw and make it better. And it basically, by having him back on television, you get, believe it or not, your viewers back, because I know people hate to say this, but Roman's one of the reasons people tune in. And you just go from there and see what happens. You just go from there and you see what happens. But I think Roman could be brought back, and if you think about it, if you kind of continue this whole Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose situation up till Mania, and you have Roman in charge as general manager, that could create some intriguing developments. If you think about it, it can create some intriguing developments that I don't think anybody has thought of. It can create some very intriguing developments. Now, the other option, believe it or not, could be to bring back somebody that a lot of people loved as the general manager. As a matter of fact, if you heard the pop he got at Raw's anniversary show back at the beginning of the year, yeah, I kind of think this guy would be a very, very enthusiastic welcome in a sense, especially since in a way he's matured more than from his original run as Raw general manager, and that's Eric Bischoff. Think about it. Eric got a huge pop when they were introducing past general managers. Eric Bischoff being brought back would work several ways from a storyline perspective. You can make him sort of that tweener general manager, the one that doesn't favor anybody but can understand from both sides of the spectrum, can understand and what Stephanie wants as the commissioner, and would do it whether people like it or not. And he can understand what how the baby faces feel. He could be that tweener. He could be that in-between guy that runs Raw, that does what's right for the fans and what's fair, but also does what the commissioner wants, whether it's fair or it's not. So Eric Bischoff being brought back as general manager would be a great, what's the word I'm looking for? Would be a great option. I think it'd be a great idea when you think about it. And then last but not least, I think probably the biggest direction they can go in after TLC is have Braun Strowman come out and basically announce that there's not going to be a general manager anymore, and that the one that's running Raw, the commissioner, is going to be the only one in charge, and should be the only one in charge. Or if she wants to see Raw ran right. So you can have them go in that direction. You can say, hey, Raw is going to only have its commissioner running things and showing up when she needs to, but we're not going to have a general manager because we're going to settle things maybe in the ring. We're going to have matches happen right then and there. They could, I think, can honestly take a page from Impact Wrestling and just say, hey, look, management only shows up or gets mentioned when a big situation or a big announcement or a match needs to be made. They can go in that direction, and I think it would work. It would definitely get people to tune into Raw because they wouldn't know what's going to happen. Again, I think it could work. I really do. I really think that could be a good option as well. Anyway, I'm going to close this down in a minute because I got to get back inside, probably get a quick bite to eat. But in general, what I'm saying is whatever decision they go with, I think some of them could be good. Alexa Bliss, I think from a storyline perspective, could be good, especially if you want to build to her getting another shot at Ronda and the Women's Championship. Maybe an Elimination Chamber, and if she doesn't win, just like with Baron, she's out. That could work. Sting, I definitely would think it would be a great choice. No doubt about it, because that would be like the ultimate foil for Stephanie. It's like, yeah, she can make decisions, but Sting can also add to them. Kind of like, let's say Austin Bischoff, the Austin Bischoff dynamic, back when Austin was co-general manager with Eric Bischoff. So that would be an interesting play right there. Who else did I say? Reinstating Kurt Angle, yeah, that could work as well. Have him vow not to let what happened to Stephanie in the past happen again. Hogan, it's a good idea. Maybe it could work. Paul Heyman definitely would fit well, especially if you want to definitely show how powerful Brock Lesnar as champion can be, and if you want to have them make that matchup between Cormier and Lesnar a reality. Renee Young as general manager, I think could really work, especially if you want to build off her finally snapping on Raw, on Michael and Corey, for continuously pestering her on what's going on with Dean. You know, that would work. I mean, you want to have this generation's interpretation of a power couple, like you did with Triple H and Stephanie back during the McMahon-Helmsley era. That would work. Eric Bischoff would be a great choice, no doubt. Like I said, perfect in-betweener. And then possibly just going the route to where the only person in charge is your commissioner, and she shows up only when necessary, and then everything else just gets settled in the ring. And and Roman Reigns, that would be a great one as well, because the story dynamic that he could have, or he could play into, involving Seth and Dean, that works. So I think those names, along, and Alexa, like I said, those names, some of them, like Alexa being probably the most talked about, and others, I think would be great choices. But what do you guys think? What do you think of the possibility of any one of them being general manager, interim or full-time general manager, after TLC, if Baron Corbin loses, which a lot of people are projecting he will? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Who do you think would be a better choice? In a sense, maybe a good foil for Stephanie and everything. What do you guys think? What do you think? Who do you think is the best choice? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Hopefully you've taken your time watching this. I'm going to go back into work and get something to eat real quickly. But let me know what you guys think. And that's all I'm going to really say. But those are my ideas of people, along with some of the most talked about already, and some that haven't been mentioned, which could be really play into a factor, of who I think could take over as interim, if not full-time general manager, after TLC and Baron Corbin's run is over. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. And I will talk to y'all later. Like I said, I got to get back inside and get me something to eat.